One skill is the one skill to rule them all. It's a meta skill. It's how you do what you do. The underlying skill of every movement you make is your coordination. And the coordination comes about through the wave of integration. So one skill is learning how to navigate, how to create that wave in yourself, and then ride it into an easy, coordinated sense of being. It's really easy to get lost in discussing what this thing is because it involves every cell of your body. It involves it involves every thought that you have. Okay, and every movement that you make. Every single thing you do is done through this mechanism of your body and your movement system. So today we're going to talk about the breath. At one point I realized the work we do could be seen as the most general approach to health. A lot of healthcare is very specialized, very deep, very focused. There's so many key indicators and factors that we study about our health. And when someone comes to me, and that's one end of the spectrum, is someone who specializes, you know what I mean. The other end of the spectrum is when somebody comes to me, I put my hands on them, and I'm asking the question, are you okay? Are you breathing? And it's astounding how the answer is universally no. I doubt anyone you know, if you asked if they were okay, would say, I don't have a single problem in my life. I'm always happy. I always feel perfect. That's pretty uncommon. Equally uncommon is someone who is actually living in the fullness of their breathing capacity, who is not interfering with their natural breath somehow. Let me give you a story about one of the times when I started seeing this. So the first time I lived with somebody, it was this beautiful woman who had a very demanding job. And she would come home, we would have dinner, we would do what we do, and then go to sleep. And I would watch her, and I could see the exact moment that she fell asleep, because her breathing would change dramatically. And it would go from a very shallow kind of, and then the moment she fell asleep, it would just, it would triple in its size and its intensity and its naturalness. And in that moment, it was like I was watching all of the stress of her day melt away and disappear, and this return to this natural state of the body. So the question is, why? What is happening here? What is this change? And I'm sure it involves a whole ton of physiological components and whatnot. It's falling asleep. But there's a real problem with how we generally breathe, how that breathing coordinates with our movement system. And let me explain what explain that problem and use that problem to explain what I mean by the wave of integration. So, a wave goes up and down. It has two parts to it. It has a rise and a fall. That's just the basic dynamic of a sine wave, it's measuring change between two things. And we have the movement system, which I'm defining as Raymond Dart talked about the tripartite movement system, which was the bones, the muscles, and all of the nerves and nervous system, the brain. All of those, he said, came about as a response to the need for movement, for directional movement. I would include the whole fascia layer in all of that, but I like to think of it as the voluntary movement system, as just one catch-all umbrella phrase for what you can control in your body. So, I'm talking about the wave in the movement system with the breath. So the basic two components of the movement system are flexion and extension. We have our flexor muscles that pull us forward and into ourselves, and the extension muscles that pick us up and pull us back and away from ourselves into extension. Okay, so boy, this is a long topic. So how we typically breathe is when we want to take in air, we pick ourselves up, try and make ourselves better, generally engage in some extension. And then when we exhale, we engage in some flexion. We let all that go and kind of relax. And that's kind of an intuitive way to breathe. And if you want to breathe deeper, chances are that's what you're going to do, to try and get more air into your lungs or let more air out. So there's another way of seeing it, which is the diaphragm is the muscle that is a big muscle that connects the entire bottom of the rib cage, a huge part of the front of the spine. It's just this really beautiful integrated muscle that divides the bean of the main torso. There's like a mass in the chest, a mass in the hips, and there's this kind of two-part system, and that's roughly divided by the diaphragm. This muscle, is a flexor. It pulls us like this. It pulls the ribs together towards the spine. When it works towards flexion. And okay, it's interesting how the rest of our flexors, like the abdominals, things like that, are kind of relatively weak muscles compared to all of the layers of extenders that we have. There's so many of these muscles, and they're so strong, and the extensor muscles of the arms are really strong. Okay, so we have the extensors and the flexors. And what I'm proposing here is that when we want to take a deeper breath and we want a fuller breath, it comes through release, not effort. The effort of the fuller breath should be in extension during the exhalation. So if I exhale and feel my extenders activating and just find a little bit of extension, a little bit of up, when I get to the end of my breath, I'll just let it go completely. My diaphragm will engage And I will just inhale totally naturally without any effort. And I'm kind of inhaling into my fullness because I'm all opened up with my extension, and I don't have to add any muscular flexion. I just let my diaphragm do the work. So extension, and then when I'm done, I let the diaphragm trigger, release everything else. So what that does is it pulses the extension of the back and engages it, and then allows it to release into a very simple form of support. The diaphragm is located like at the pivotal point, the most advantageous position to flex this being forward, like right in the middle there. It's like there's this being here, the diaphragm's right in the middle, and it just pulls it in just perfectly. Okay. So as you can see, that's a lot different than inhaling with extension. Right? Because in this thing, my diaphragm is activating, is putting in effort, as well as my extensors. So my body is kind of fighting itself on both sides of the wave. They're both being activated to try and get a breath in. And that's kind of the definition of why everybody is not okay today. This confusion of the flexion and extension happens in, every movement we make. So, for example, when we go to sit in a chair, let me adjust my camera here. Come on, buddy. You got this. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go and sit in this chair. We're already in extension because I'm standing. And instead of releasing that extension to let myself gently and ever so effortlessly flex into the chair, instead of that, we tend to keep a lot of our extension and just add flexion on top of it. So I keep standing up and I kind of scoot and pull myself into the chair. We don't realize we do this, but we do it a lot of different ways. If I do this number, I got extension here, got flexion here, I've got extension here, and I go and sit in the chair, and it's just all confused and fighting itself. So with this simple, unintuitive, I guess, form of breathing, I can exhale. I can really exhale well by thinking that I'm fogging up my glasses, opening up my throat, saying ah. And then when I'm done, I let it all relax, starting at the top and then going down. And I just do a lot less. I just stop holding myself up. And a tiny bit of flexion, engagement in the flexors, will keep me from falling. So here I am, same body, different position. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to exhale deeply, thoroughly, wonderfully, like I enjoy it, with a smile. And when I'm done, I'm going to release, reset into flexion. Everything we do could be this easy and integrated. Every breath we take could pump the movement system. So let's see. We talked about the being. We talked about the flexion of the diaphragm, the extension of all the strong cords in the back, how to breathe through it. Talked about how that relates to freeing the neck. Boy, okay, I think we got it all. Cool. Well, that was our first class, or our second class last week. Really looking forward to exploring more of how we can facilitate the integration of the wave of the movement system, both in ourselves and in the people that we love. So stay tuned. We'll see you soon. And what should I say at the end of these videos? Blessings on your path to learn the skill of chill. I love you guys.